Morning, Jacob. Morning, Farong. All the regulars. Yeah, always good to see you. I'll see your name. Wow. A little bit. Oh, give another minute for a few more folks to arrive. Morning. Right. Oh, it's 11:30 now. So I guess I'll start. So, trying to think. This, I think, was not yesterday. I think this was Monday afternoon. Anyway, this is down on the northwest arm at the Dingle. And I don't know if you recognize this building over here, but that's the Loyola high rise. So looking across at it from a different direction, there were these really massive clouds out that day. They looked like in these apocalyptic movies where this giant spaceship comes over New York City and so on. Well, the clouds looked like giant spaceships that were moving across the city. Very strange. They were very, very, very high. They came down quite low, and then lots of blue sky all around them. Anyway, so this morning I've got a bunch of stuff on that. But what I promised you for this morning was that we were going to flip over and do some stuff with assignment 4 because Farong, I think you were the first to point out it seemed confusing what I was asking you to do, and I know folks had a lot of trouble with the regression in assignment 3, and we went through that. And so that had been my plan for first part of the morning because we don't have a lot of new material to cover today. It's again another approach to classification, but one that we're really not going to make you work through. It's just too tedious to do. You solved your problem. Well, that was good. I hope you didn't have to spend too long to figure it out. Before I get started, I don't know how many we have on at the moment. We've got 14. Okay, so there's a reasonable turnout at the moment. So let me get back to chat again. Do you want me to just start at the beginning and walk through questions 1 and 2? Or are there specific areas that you'd like to make sure that I spend extra time on? And so Jacob and Brennan, for which assignment? We're looking at, I know you're playing catch up. We're looking at assignment 4 that's due on Friday. Okay. So we'll just walk through it unless and if along the way there's something you want me to go back or spend more time on, you just raise that. But we'll sort of treat this more like a tutorial session here. So let me just find the assignment questions, and here they are. So I took the data from assignment 2, or at least that data set. I had to clean it a fair bit because when we do regression analysis and correlation in any of those, they don't like it if, let me make this smaller so I can see the chat. And I'll make it bigger because we don't need the whole screen then. There we go. With procedures, oops, I'm still not small enough here. There we go. There we go. So with things like regression analysis, where it's looking at relationships among variables, and it isn't just treating them each one separately. Like when you did descriptive statistics or histograms, since it was only looking at one variable at a time, it would sort of discard the blanks, and that was fine. We didn't have to do any extra cleanup. But when the mathematics that's involved in a lot of procedures that involve comparing things, blanks cause a real problem because the formulas, the mathematics in there can't handle that type of thing, that we need real numbers. So there are different methods that are often used. Sometimes with blanks, if there's a lot of blanks, we just might delete the whole record, delete the whole thing about the student. And yeah, we'll look at question 3. We can look at everything. The other thing that some folks will do is try to guess what the missing value might be. And so it's blank there, but because of other things you know about the person, you think, oh, that's probably a male, or probably that's a Canadian student, or something like that. Sometimes people put in the average. So if we didn't know what your age was, but look, on average, students in the class are 21, let's just put in 21 and do that type of thing. And I went and did some of those sorts of things so that I didn't lose all the data, but I still ended up losing a huge whack of it. The other thing I did was some of the numbers were crazy. Summer earnings of $65,000 or $650,000 or something insane, which I knew it was just no. There was it was probably $6,500, and somehow things got changed. And there were some that the numbers were just far too low. Instead of adding some zeros, I just deleted them. So I tried to make sure we had a somewhat clean data set without obvious outliers. But you may see that we ended up still leaving some in there that looked like they could be outliers. So the first thing asks for correlations among the variables and look at all of them at once. So let me go get the data set. Here's our data set. And here's the stuff that I recoded for you. So here was a South Asian student. You'll see that the student is recoded. Oh, sorry, make this smaller and bigger. Keep forgetting. Doesn't want to go bigger for me. No, there it is. Sorry, it's just slow to respond. That here's a South Asian student, gets coded as a 1. Here's a Nova Scotia student, coded as a 0. You should find each of the international are 1, and if they're Canadian, it's a 0. I also had, not in this bunch, see all these ones, they have Canada being 0 because they're Nova Scotian or international. But here's one Canada outside of Nova Scotia, and it shows as a 1. And coded gender 0 and 1. If you're in the class of 2020, like you are, you'd show up as a 1 here, and last year's class shows up as a 0. And so the data's been coded, and I put all of the number stuff together. If I hadn't put them in order like this, you would have had to arrange the data so that they're in one block, because the tools in Excel want all of the columns to be side by side. So to find correlation, we go up to data. We go to data analysis. We've done this before, but I know people struggled the last time, so they're probably still struggling now. And my data goes from column E across to column K, and it's row 1. That's where the label is. And the bottom row is 180. So it's already filled in here for me, but I don't know if you can see that. But and I've got it in columns, I've got labels, and let me put this in a new worksheet. Okay, and if I do that, I get this, and let's make it bigger so we can see it. And you'll see that the numbers aren't especially large. Okay, that correlations go from -1 up to +1. They can be negative, meaning that they go down. Here it says that age and high school average, if I plotted those two, it would be slightly downhill. So younger students had higher averages in high school than older students. But the number is really tiny. So the correlation there is very, very, very weak. That this, I could even use with the 0, 1 variables, I can do this correlation, though it's foolish. We've seen that when we did the very beginning of classification, and we're classifying employees as being good or bad, and we were looking at their test scores, verbal and math test scores. And so it ended up being, one group at the bottom, one group at the top, and you could look at the correlation. Is there a pattern here? And this one says the international high school grades tend to be lower. That may not be that the students are not as smart. It may be a reflection of grading systems, that the grading system in Canada is higher than the grading systems in other countries, which is the case in a number of countries. But again, it's a very small number. It's close to 0. This says this year's group is slightly better in terms of grades than last year's group out of high school. Again, different mix. The number, again, is very close to 0. So it's not a strong pattern. Women looks like are getting slightly better grades than men are, that type of thing. And we got all kinds of others. If we're looking at summer earnings, how you did in high school, doesn't seem to play a role. Your age, though, that does seem to be the case. It seems that older students earned more in the summer, and in part it may be they're older, they've got more work experience, so they might get better jobs, or we may have some part-time students that are working full-time during the summer, so they've got higher earnings. International, it's negative, suggesting international students earned less. Yeah, we thought we saw that before as well. I was curious as to whether or not females earned less, and maybe, but it's a very, very weak correlation. So yeah, I will upload this to YouTube, definitely. Okay, you're getting an error when you do it. So when I went to my data, I went to data, I went to data analysis, I went to correlation here, and then I had to tell it where the data was. And so I go from row 1 to row 180, columns E to K. Make sure you check off labels, because you'll get an error if you don't, because these are words and not numbers. And so that may be the source. Otherwise, Brandon, email me your spreadsheet afterwards and I'll take a look at it. No, you don't have to filter the outlier. You're not to clean any of the data. Okay, you got the same error. That's strange. Because I'm using exactly the data set that you've got. I downloaded it from the assignment just to make sure it was the same. Yours was okay. You don't have an error. Now this is peculiar. Be careful. Did you actually go to the very bottom, or did you just select columns? Be careful if you just select columns, because then it thinks that there's more stuff down below. I don't think there are any blanks in here. Let me just scroll through yours just to double check. It is a table at the moment, so let's go back and do some checking on this. So we're in a table, okay? And I've got mine formatted as a table. I think I saved it as a table. Go put a total row in there, okay? And that what I want to do is just do a count of numbers, 179. Let me check all the others. 179. So I have mine's telling me I've got 179 values in each one. So I have no blanks, nothing like that. So let's leave it there at the moment. Okay, here's something that Farong just raised. Okay, I've got a table and it should be working, but it may not be. And you may, if you're running into this, she mentions convert a table to a range. Okay, that, where am I here? There, when I introduced tables at the beginning of the course, that we had data that was just in columns. Those are called ranges. And if I want to convert it back to what it was before, I can do that. And it's over here on the left. It says convert to range. And if you do that, it says, do I want it? Yes, that's what I want to do. It leaves all the color coding in there, but you'll notice there's nothing here along the top in terms of labels, that the down arrows and that sort of thing. It's now just a plain table. That and now let me just double check to make sure it still works. Let's do data analysis. We'll do our correlation. I've got the same locations, E1 to K180. I've still got labels. Put it in a new worksheet. Let's make sure. Nope, it worked again that time. Okay, so it seems to be that we're all right. All right, but it doesn't always work with Excel. Excel does very strange things to me, and so when you say you're getting an error, I don't question that at all. And it sometimes I've had cases where I've had to go and copy the data from a spreadsheet into a brand new one and do it again. And I don't know why Excel wouldn't accept it before, but it's just the way it works. So that's a correlation table. Let me just get rid of this one because I've already got one. Now I'll get rid of that sheet. So here I've got a sheet with my correlation table. And now let me go back to the assignment. And it says make a scatter chart with age on the horizontal and summer on the vertical. Okay. So this one, let me go back to my data. So this one is going to work out nicely. Okay. I'm going to go and it's here again, it gets quirky. If I take the labels, this sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. So I've often run into problems with Excel when I select labels. Okay, and then I want to insert, I want a chart. Okay, it works this time, and it gives me a scatter chart as the default. Okay, so you can see a little bit of a pattern, but as you can see, and I think this was what Farong you referred to before, there's some here that are way outside. That someone that is probably working full time at a very good job, or it may be a typo. Maybe it should have been $5,000 instead of 50. I don't know, but I do know. I had one student this summer or last summer, maybe it was last year. Yeah, this year I think I put a cap on you. I wouldn't let you claim more than 30,000 in the summer. So these values here, maybe they should be higher. Last year I didn't put a cap. But I think, if I remember correctly, the 50,000 was a student that works as a lobster fisherman and makes all his money in the summer, and that it was a valid number. But we've got all kinds of things here. With the assignment, I just said make a scatter chart, and so I'll accept this. But ideally, you should be going in and putting in age on the horizontal and on the vertical, put in your summer earnings. Okay. Is that all right? The other thing on this is we got a lot of white space here. So I'm pointing out some things on good practices in making charts. I should have a better title here. The other is I've got a lot of white space here. It's because I don't have any students that are 10 years old. So what I could do, and again, you don't have to do this, but these should be habits you're starting to develop. So I'm right-clicked on this horizontal axis, and right now it's going from 0 to 60. Let me start at 15. Okay, I like to start with a nice number, but I've got some students that may be 17 or 18. And so get rid of that. And so now it may look like a somewhat better chart. Are we okay? That last class, I pointed out how some students, when they were asked to do this, were going and giving me a full screenshot, and they didn't zoom out or zoom in on their screen like I do just for you. They were looking at their normal screen that would look like, something like this or smaller, and it's a little chart in a big amount of space. So you have different options available here to put it into your assignment. Okay, so if you did a screenshot, which many of you seem to do, you could go, I've done a screenshot. I go to my assignment, and I could go and paste it in. Paste the whole thing, my whole screen, including me. Now, yours wouldn't have me in there on the side, and I seem to be frozen. Yeah, it's a picture. If you did that, it's not the most efficient way to do things. You could then go and click on it, click format, and you could crop it. It's a picture you've got. So you could make it, take out all the stuff you didn't need. I just want the chart, so I could zip down here. So this is the hard way to do some of these things. And boop, and now I've just got the chart, and I could make it bigger and fill up my screen. Okay, that's one way to do it, but it's what I don't like about it is if you save that the way it is, and this is the way I used to do it because I wasn't too smart, and someone else opens your document, they could go and go back up to crop, and they could zoom back out and zoom out the other way and so on. They could see what was on your screen. You'd see your whole screen. And so for privacy reasons, I don't recommend this. As I said, I used to do it this way because I didn't know how to do it any other way. And let me just get rid of it then. So there are better ways, and there are two that come to mind. One, and Brandon's on this call. Brandon, this I did not know till you showed me. Well, I saw you. Brandon and I had a Zoom meeting to do with an assignment, and he shared his screen, and we walked through some questions. And when he wanted to copy something, he snipped things. He kept talking about snipping, and I'm like, what is snipping? And there's a tool on PCs, and there is one on Macs, I'm told, as well, where you just go in and you highlight what you want. It copies it into your clipboard, and then I go to my document and I can paste it in. Boom, all done. And this is a picture. Okay, I can't edit it. I can't do anything to it. It's fixed. It's frozen. And so this works really well. So that's one way of doing it. We could also, and this one is more unpredictable, and it's particularly if you're doing a lot of pivot tables and pivot charts, and you're using the same data set, you're analyzing it, taking a picture of it, and you want to copy the chart into your report. And then you're going back and doing some other analysis and copying a chart and putting it in. So you can go and take a chart and just copy it. So here I just go and I say copy. Okay. And then I go in here into my document, and I don't know how you function with your whatever computer you got, Mac or a PC. I'm an old guy. I had one of the very first PCs, and the early software wasn't graphical and that sort of thing. And we could do copy and paste, but we didn't have a mouse. A mouse didn't exist then. And that when we would select things with your keyboard, and then to copy, that we use control keys. We'd use control C to copy, and to paste, we'd use control V. And I still do that to this day. So 40 years later, I'm still doing control V, and I paste it in. When I do that, I use implicitly the first option in terms of pasting. This chart, in fact, is linked back to my spreadsheet. So if I go and in my spreadsheet, go and take out the title here, okay, then if I go back to my document, it's still there. Okay, normally it'll just disappear. It'll change on me. Changes in one often will change the other. As to how they're synchronized, it's uncertain, but sometimes when you go and create a new graph, it overwrites your old graph in your document. So watch out. That an alternate way is to go in, and when I'm doing pasting, I have several paste options, and a couple of them involve embedding the workbook. That's the first one I did. I embedded the workbook. And then there are others that link the data in the workbook. Again, though, it's connected to the workbook. The last one is just as a picture. And the picture is such, I can't edit my picture. Okay, I can't do anything like that to it. I can't change it in any way. But it's completely independent of my spreadsheet. Whereas if I pasted it like I'd done earlier, like this, I could go in and, whoops, no, sorry, this one, it didn't do it right. What did I do? Hold on. It should have. And it should embed the workbook. There I am. So I can actually go and edit the picture in, it's basically edit it the same way I can as in Excel. I can change the labels here. I can change formatting. Any formatting I can do in Excel, I can do in Word. Nice to do, but if your spreadsheet changes, it may change your Word document. And I can remember a case of students last year doing a report, and they copied all kinds of really nice graphics in, but what they didn't realize was every time they changed their spreadsheet, it went and changed all of their graphics. So they had 8 or 9 charts in the document. They were all, when they finished, exactly the same because every time they changed the stuff in Excel, it changed it in Word. And so they all were identical charts. It was, they were very frustrated. Anyway, so just as an aside in terms of going and doing these sorts of things, let's get back to the assignment. Comment on what you've got. I'm looking particularly at the scatter chart, and I'm looking for you to say something about this. My eye is, like I don't see a strong pattern here, and I'm worried that my eye is being drawn by these ones over here, and that really there isn't a strong pattern. If I hid these ones over here on the right, it would just look like a blob. And so is this really all that's happening? Is that these ones pulling it out? I don't know. But it's troublesome that almost everybody is under 25 and earned under $10,000. And then we had a bunch of other people. Anyway, that was my thoughts when I saw it. Fit the regression model to this. So we would go to back here, and we go up to the start again. So here I'm going to go back to data so that I can do data analysis. And now I go down and I pick regression. Click OK. OK. Now, where is my X variable? That's the one that's on the horizontal. It's age. So that's in column F, going from 1 up to F180. And now I could have just gone in and selected these guys. I'll do that with the other. So with the summer earnings, they go from, so I can either type in the cell references or select them like this. If you get an error, and this time I might, last time I did, I've got labels again, make sure you got that checked. And I'm going to put it in a new worksheet. Okay. And I threw in residuals because I'm going to use them later. Okay, it did work that time. Sometimes when I type in the cell references in terms of instead of selecting them, it gives me an error message. I'm not sure. Oh, look at this. I've got my variables backwards. Yes. Summer earnings along the horizontal. These are ages. So easy to do. Let me go back and do this again. Doing regression. I don't know if you saw my mistake. The first thing it asks for is the Y input range. Okay, Y is in column K. And I saw this on some students with assignment 3. They got their variables backwards, just like I'm doing right now. And that the X variable is age, and X is in column F. Let's try this again, see if it likes me. Okay, so here I've got age on the horizontal, that's what I want. And that I'm trying to predict summer earnings. And what I've asked you to give me in your assignment is just to copy, whoops, made it too small or too big. The main stuff I want is this stuff. You don't even have to give me the stuff over here. So I'd say just if you want, go and grab a bunch of things here. The main stuff is usually on the left of that table. So just copy it and oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So I just want that main sort of output that you've got here. That you can just leave that the way it is. It's not well formatted and not attractive for a report. I'd never put it in a report that way. Now what does it tell me to do? Okay, the coefficient for age. Any idea what that means? Do you have any idea what your model is? If I asked you to write out what is the model that we've got here, what have we just fit? Any thoughts? Anyone want to type something? The summer dollars will increase by 40 on average for a 1-point increase in age. Exactly right. Okay. That our model says summer dollars are equal to, now this is strange, minus 3444.78 plus 455.90 or whatever times age. So if your age goes up by 1 year, so if you were comparing students that were aged 18 and those aged 19, so 1 year difference, and looked at what was the average summer earnings for the 18-year-olds, the average summer earnings for the 19-year-olds, you should find that the difference between them is about $455, approximately. Okay, that's the slope of your line. If I was looking back, let me do it in Excel. It's easier. If I look back to my chart, nope, that's my bad chart that I made a mistake on. I better get rid of that one. Let me go back here. No, where is it? Oh, it's in the data file. It's down here somewhere. There it is. I hate the way it puts it right at the bottom. Let me just make this bigger. And I'm gonna have to change my axis here. Put it back the way it was before so you can see this properly. Okay. And there are different layouts. I've sort of mentioned this before, but I'm going to put this one in here. Close this out. Make this bigger for you to see. And so, oh, I don't need that one. This is the one I'd like. And so what this model is saying is here's the regression line that's been drawn there. I guess I'll have to make it a little bit shorter here so I can see the bottom. That I'm going to draw a line here. If I was to take this regression line, hopefully you can see it, and extend it backwards, all the way back, like that, and I'll make it brighter and fatter so you can see. You know, you're used to seeing stuff on little phones, and your eyes are much better than mine. Mine, I need things really big. So here's the line it drew through that scatter. It's okay. Hard to guess where, because it's such a big scatter, you think you could probably draw any line. This is the equation of that line, okay, with the numbers rounded off. And as you can see, when it goes back here, it goes down below 0. And since this is 10,000, that's my minus 3,000. And it's not that we have anybody down here. We don't have any 5-year-olds or 10-year-olds or whatever that are working during the summer. And my little Lottie didn't work last summer. So her summer earnings aren't really negative. But so the intercept rarely makes sense. Don't try to read too much into it, but this one does. This says as your age goes up, your summer earnings also go up by that $445. So that's what this model is trying to show. Okay. Any questions about, I think this takes us to the end of question 1. Any thoughts on this? Any issues? Okay. Oh, excuse me. All right. So if there aren't, that now we've got to deal with the residuals. And this bit, I should have probably given you, do you need the graph for E? No, you don't need the graph. You just need, just like Farong typed out, that for every year increase in age, average summer earnings go up by $455. That's all you need to say. That starting 2, I probably should have told you to do a few things that to be able to make this one easier. So we're going to be looking at residuals. So that's this scatter here. that we've got that, and so we've got some with much higher earnings and and some with slightly lower earnings. So this is interesting how it's scattered on the two sides there. And so to look at that pattern, here are the residuals that came out. So I want you to take this data set here, okay, and with that data set, initially I say just go and insert a chart, and I want a box and whisker chart, and here I get my chart, okay. So I've got a lot of people that were around close to zero. I've got a few below here. I've got a whole bunch of outliers way above. And we saw that in our scatter chart because as age got particularly older, the scatter got really, really wide. And so here I've got a box and whisker chart. The next piece, though, is a little tricky for you to do given the way my data is, because I ask you then to break it down by different groups. So what I really should do is, and this is my normal advice on assignments, that if you're going to look at a subset of data on a particular question, take the data that you're going to be working with, copy it, put it into a new sheet. So this is a new sheet for question 1 where I want to put it, or question 2. And then I'm still going to end up having to use some of the other data that I had before, because I'm going to, in this one, ask you to build different models and so on, mainly associated with age and international. But I also ask you to work with this, and eventually you're going to use summer earnings. So let me just take all of this stuff that's in my original data set. Okay. And I'm going to throw it all into my new one. So now I've got all my data here. So, and I'm going to go and redo my box and whisker chart. Take this. So again, with charts, you have to select the data, then tell it what type of chart. Whereas with data analysis, you tell it what you want to do, and then you go back and select the data. I wish they didn't do it that way, or that in charts you could pick the chart and then tell it what data you want. So this is my data. Excuse me. Because I finished at the bottom here, it put my chart at the beginning, at the bottom. I'm just going to take it out and put it up here so that I can see my data. So this is my chart I just had. Nobody's stopping me with questions. If you got questions on this, stop me. When you're in the chart, and make sure you're clicked on the chart, you've got a design tab. If I go off the chart, my design tab disappears. So to find that design tab, I have to be in the chart. So I go up to design, and it has a one that says select data. Okay. And I'm going to go down. Here's my residuals. That's one bunch. And I'm going to select this guy. And what are the labels that are going to be on the axis? And I find it doesn't like me if I pick a label. If it picks a label, if I pick the label, it'll treat that as a number. I'm going to just pick the values for international. Oops. Okay. So here it's allowing me to go, and I'm telling it what I want. I can go and select stuff anyway. So I've picked that. All right. And so it's going to be putting in these ones and zeros and that type of thing. And then I click OK. And my chart's way up here. And you'll notice what's happened here. I've now got 2 box plots. This one looks to be a little bit higher than that one, but otherwise they don't look to be that different. So what I should do is I'll click on this chart and I'm going to go right click and format the data series. So I'm not formatting the chart, this is formatting the data. If I click on the chart and do the right click, it's going to say format chart area and that sort of thing. It's not what I want to do, is actually do formatting to do with the data. So I have to have gone right in and selected where the data is. And that it says show outlier points. It's automatically checked off. Take those out. And so now you see the chart, and now you can see here's my international students, and here's my domestic students. And yeah, they both have ones where my residual, this is the residual that's left over and make prediction errors. This isn't my original data, because I may have a big age difference between international and Canadian students, and I've taken out any issues to do with age between those two. So I'm only looking at them in this fashion. In your assignment too, you looked at summer earnings of domestic and international, but you didn't take account of age. And if my international students were all very young and my domestic students were all very old, then maybe what we are seeing was an age difference in earnings and not a difference to do with where they're from. But now I've adjusted for age. So this is only due to where they're from. Okay. What do I tell you to do there? So, and this one, I think I've asked you to change the title. Okay. So change that title up there to say, so just click on the title and type in international. I see equals 1 in it because I don't have a proper legend down here. Now I could put in to my chart a horizontal axis title and that type of thing and do it that way. I'm just putting it in this fashion. So we could do all kinds of comparisons. One of the things that you compared as well, you were comparing domestic and international, or domestic, international, and outside Nova Scotia in your pivot chart. And you were also comparing the class of 2019 to the class of 2020. And so you did a whole bunch of things in that pivot table and pivot chart. I'm only doing them one at a time. So I could look at the class and see if that had any bearing. And so what I could do, and here, I'm just curious. Let me just put this one in my assignment. Okay, there's my card in there, the way I wanted it. And now I'm going to go down to go and change chart to be the class of 2020. It gives me a hard time on this. So I'm going to go back into my chart and back into design, select data, and here I'm going to say edit again, and I'm going to take this stuff out. Okay. And I'm going to put in the class. Okay, so it's just a different column. Okay. And so it's got these guys, and I'm going to click OK. And let's go back up and take a look. I don't know if you see the difference between the two, but it's different. Okay, this one is the class, this is the COVID class, and this is the class before COVID. And the COVID class, like we saw in the assignment 2, seems to have earnings that are somewhat lower. You know, this chart's lower, but I don't know if you can mentally recall what the chart looked like, or the box and whisker chart looked like before. But it's changed slightly. So I go back to my assignment, and I go to paste it in. Okay. So this is my, wake up. Okay. So this is the one that I'd have for It's not international and change it to class. But notice up here that it did keep the old one. It didn't for me the other day. I was doing this and making up answer key for you, and it went back and changed my old one, so that since I changed the original, it changed both. You've got to be careful that I'm echoing. Maybe move the mic away. Is the echoing still there? Uh, yeah. All right. Let's see. Wonder why I'm echoing. Have I always been echoing all the way through? No. I'm not sure what changed, but maybe I'm just getting too excited. Anyway, um, that but it's just a warning when you're copying charts over. Sometimes when they copy over from Excel, uh, the, the charts don't change on you. So just be careful on that. That we can fit another regression, and let's go back and try that. Uh, how to make the chart again? Okay. Let's go from the get-go. Go from the beginning. So this one was a chart of residuals. So I go and I select the data. You don't have to, probably don't select the label. So I select the data. Okay. I go to Insert, go to Charts, and it doesn't have the chart I want, so I go to All Charts, and I pick Box and Whisker Chart, and I click OK. So there's my first chart. And then I said, let's go and split it between two groups. So I could go back here and I can edit. And it says, well, where's the other group? Well, let's do the class of 01. That's the one that I've got up above here. So I go and I have to select that data. Don't select the label. Just select the values here. Okay. And I click OK. And then I click OK again. And there I get my two things. But I don't like the outliers in it. So what I did was I clicked on the data, then I right-clicked, I picked Format Data Series. So make sure it's saying, it always has format down at the bottom, but this is the data series. If it doesn't say that, then go back and try clicking again, and maybe you've clicked the wrong thing, because there are different things you can click on, too many things. And I say show outlier points, I unclick that so that they disappear. That go away, and there I've got my chart. Okay. And if you wanted to go and do a different comparison, you could go back up, you could select data, you could go and edit again. And this time, maybe I'm going to look at gender. This is something we didn't do in the assignment. Oh yeah, we did, but we didn't do it with summer earnings. And I could click again, okay, and okay. And I got two charts, and they're almost the same. That females seem to be earning maybe a tiny bit less. No, I'm not doing, yes, 2D. Never do three-dimensional charts. You can't with a box and whisker, but never do three-dimensional charts. Sorry. Oh, doing 2D. Oh, I thought you were saying 2 dimensions. Okay, let's go back. This is your class. I do whatever you want. So back 2D said that So this one here in 2D said the class of 2020, or we could look at females. I asked you just to look at class. You don't have to look at females. I probably shouldn't have said that. The initial one I did was with international, and then I swapped out the international variable and put in class, which would be the that one there, I think. Does that sort of cover it, Brendan, or do you want me to go back and redo it again? I can replay this. He's typing. Okay, how do I switch it out? So let's go, and I'll switch it out again, because this one right now has gender. Okay, so I'm in the chart. Doesn't matter where you are clicked on the chart, but I need the design tab up here. Make sure I got that one, because with it, I can select the data. And what I'm doing is editing how am I splitting my data up. Okay, and first time I did international, then I did class, now I've done gender. So I can go and I hit on edit, and I'm going to take out what I had there before. As to what I was picking as the horizontal, and I can pick anything else I want here. I can go back and let me click international again. Or we could, no, we'll do Canada. Now, we don't have a lot of students in this data set from outside Nova Scotia, so it's not going to be a very good quality chart. But so again, it's got a lot of zeros because we don't have from outside. And so that's how I switched it. Now I've got a different variable in here. And then I click OK. And then here I get it. And in this case, I get the outside Nova Scotia being somewhat higher. There is one thing that has changed in this one. You may have noticed this one says 0, then 1. And I think, do I have an old chart here? And this one has 1, then 0. It sequences these charts in terms of the sequence that the characters arose. So this one here, I think, is the gender chart or the class chart, and the first entry is a 1. So it ends up building this chart first, and then it builds the next one. For Canada, the first observation was a 0, so it started building the 0 chart first. So the one for D. So we're going to have that for D. I'm not even sure what this one is. So that I think this one is, it's supposed to be for class. Yeah, this is the one for D is class. The one for C is using international. Okay. So I think this is correct. This is the one for class. The one for international, you find that there's a much bigger difference, but you should get two slightly different charts. I think we got them back here. I don't think I deleted them. So this is what you should have showing up for C. So the domestic students was a lot of spread, a lot of variability in it. Okay, and the international students much less so. And when you did the next one, where it's just the 2019 students and the 2020 students, that they look very, very similar, just one is a little bit higher than the other. Okay. And in both cases, I've taken the outliers out. So I said, let's stop there, because really the other differences you're going to find are very tiny, and they aren't very helpful. And what I'd like you to do is go back to data, go to data analysis, go to regression. My y variable is now in a different spot because watch out that it remembers what you did last, but that was on a different sheet of data. Here, my summer earnings are located here from H. And remember, I'm not predicting residuals, okay? I'm predicting summer earnings. It's an H1 up to H, is it 180? 180 rows. And my X values are in the age column and the international column. I'm putting two variables in here. So I have C1 up to B180. So I'm plugging all of these here. I've got labels. I'm going to put it in a new worksheet. I'll check these off, but I'm not going to use them. Okay, it worked. And let me make this bigger so that my poor eyes can see things. And here's my results. My R square before, where was it? Is it way down here? R squared before was really small. It was only 0.1. Okay. Non-numeric data. Okay. Did you check off labels? Make sure you check labels. Okay. That. All right. Oh, yes. I had that happen once. Hold on. Where was my data? When you do it, go back and do it again. And these are the strange things with Excel. Notice it's put in all these dollar signs for me and everything, and it's proper. Sometimes with Excel, I can't type in the cell locations. It gets mad at me. So I end up having, oh, there I put it in the wrong place. So let me go do this again. I've had occasions where I've had to actually go in and select the data to make it work right. And let's try it again. It worked properly this time again. But sometimes I've had it not work when I've typed in locations of the cells, and I don't know why. Excel does strange things to me. So try that. Yeah, if it's got a blank, but we shouldn't have any blanks if we get it right. Getting the same error again. Okay, let's take this up later today and email me your spreadsheet. But yeah, Ferone is right. If you get a blank, it won't take it. Okay. That I initially had an error. Yeah. Okay. I went and copied stuff in here, and I worked with these residuals, and I had blanks up above, and I ended up giving a cell reference that went above the top, and it took in that blank, and it gave me grief on that. This new model that I've got here now is, and let me, the R squared went up from 0.1 to 0.16, so it's a little bit better. You barely notice it. The standard error is probably smaller than it was before. The standard error before was $5,800, huge. And now it's $5,600, so it's not a big improvement. Okay. That the if you were looking at this as a formula, what it says is, right, we're going to type it out, is summer dollars equals minus 1794, that's my intercept, plus the age bit, 423.9 times age. And so before it was 455, so it's changed a little bit, but not a lot. And then minus 32 71 times international. Okay. So it's a slightly different model than I had before. It's got two variables in it. Age, it goes up, 17, 18, 19, 20, all the way up to, I think, 55 is the oldest student in the group. But international, if you remember, is 0 or 1. So if I put in 0 for international, it's like I've got two models here. Let me just give myself some space here. For a international, for a domestic student, a Canadian student, this thing really looks like summer dollars equals minus 1794 plus 423.9 age. What should I put in for the international part for a Canadian student? I was putting this in if I had, if I put in age being 17 or 20 or something like that into this, and I'm trying to predict the average summer earnings, what would I put in for international and how would it affect the formula? It's a Canadian student. Someone help me here. What's the value for international? I'll put it in. The value for international is 0 because it's not an international student. So really, it's just 17 minus. And if I was a Canadian student or international student, I'm going to end up saying it looks like that. Let me just leave that. And I'm going to put in, just edit this guy. See what's happening here. It's actually going to combine these two. So it's like saying that it's like a different model. What do I get if I add those guys together? 1794. That'll be 19. 5, oh, oops. My mental arithmetic may be wrong here. This over here is the relationship for international students. This is the relationship for Canadian students. Both of them have age as a variable, and so it goes up as their age gets higher. But international students are starting out $32,000 lower than the Canadian students are. Okay, it's the impact of this coefficient here. So it's just like in our graph how we saw international had lower earnings than the domestic students. That's what's happening to us here. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. We got only a few minutes left, and for long I promised I would look at the last question on the assignment. So this is a frequency table, and in assignment 2 you created frequency tables, and then I made you give me percentages of column totals or row totals or something like that, and those became probabilities. So what's the probability a randomly selected student experiences frequent depression is if I was to go into those 246 students, they're all in a big room together, and I was to grab one student, what's the chance that student experiences frequent depression? Anyone want to give me the answer? Is anybody still there? There we are. So you're giving me 34%. What you're giving me is there, thanks to the fraction, 84 out of 246. Okay, so just think in terms of fractions, and then you can calculate as a percentage. So that's a nice simple one to start with. Now, from where did you specifically have questions on this then? Which one am I? And Brendan is also typing. Um, you don't need to put all those zeros in there, that type of thing. You don't need to explode the numbers up. That I said, suppose it was much larger like that, but it's the same number, same answer. But I'm just saying that uh, assume that it's big enough that when we calculate it, we're going to get exact answers. Because if this is just based upon 246, you would get there'd be a lot of error in it. Oh, okay. No. All right. That probably was a bad thing for me to put in there. Just ignore that. Just ignore it and just say that so that I can work out probabilities. Because the probabilities will be the same. I'm sorry that I probably shouldn't have said that. Ignore, yes. So, was that the only problem you were experiencing with it, or did you have issues with some of the language in the B, C, D, and EECS? That is the problem with probability, is the language that's there. There's a whole bunch of typing. Since people are typing, okay. What was I saying about C? I haven't gotten to C. I'm just saying that with these, the language that's used in these different things here, the first one should be straightforward. Now you don't need tree methods into this one at all. There's no trees in this assignment at all because this assignment was only based on the first half of probability, just on using a table and pulling things out of a table. Your last assignment, I'll give you a simple tree problem. It's hard to look at as a table. I don't know. Just think of it as a large room. Oops, excuse me. So imagine a room. It's and I've made people stand in various spots. On the left-hand side of the room are the students that were here in 2019, and the right-hand side of the room are those that were here in 2020. Okay, so both sides of the big room. And then against the back wall, I've told the people with frequent depression stand back there, and the front wall is those that have infrequent depression. So they're all in nice little clusters. Okay, we've got these 6 pockets of people. But when I'm going in to grab someone, I'm just going in blindly to grab them. Okay, that for the or question, for example, that I'm looking at, were they in 2019 or frequent depression? So here's frequent depression. Okay, here's frequent depression. These people were, okay, not frequent depression, but they were in 2019. And these ones are. So I could add up all of these people, and these are all people that would have been in the class of 2019 or they experienced frequent depression. So you could just add those up and divide by 246. The other way you could do it is we have a formula. We could take all of those with frequent depression. So we could take this bunch, color them. I could take And here are the students in 2019. Take those ones. So I could have 84 plus 134. But I've got these ones here that are in the 84 and in the 134. So they're a problem. I've counted them twice, so I'll take them out once. And then I'll get my total. No, there aren't two answers. There's two ways to do it. I'll get the same answer. What is this? This will give me 93. Is that 177? Is that right? Then I'm going to get out of everybody. So we'll get 178. I don't know if my math's right here. I'm trying to do this in my head. No, it's not quite right. Is it? 84, that would be 115. No, what is the right total? You're giving me percentages. I can't do percentages in my head. So I've got 37, here's 68, 68, 128, 134 plus 47 is, supposed to be 181. Okay. So if I do my math right, I think that's what I should get. And so you get your, now why one of you has 73.5%, the other one 71.9, I'm not sure. It should be, oh, it's because you probably used the 177, which was the wrong number to use. But that's all you have to do with the or. We're overtime already. You know what to do with D and E? Table back here. So in D, I'm looking at among the students in 2019. Any answer for me? A fraction? Don't give me a percentage. No? No one's going to type anything? Oh, hi. Two people that haven't been typing before. Good. Oh, Brendan said, don't give me a percentage. I can't. You got 37 out of 134. Both of you do, because you're looking only at the class of 2019. And then the next one, it says, among the students that experienced frequent depression, what's the chance they were in 2019? So there you'd be looking just at that row. So you got it the right way around. Yeah, you can give percentage answers. I generally recommend you give a fraction and then a percentage, just in case you make a calculation error. If you see the fraction, we can see what you did wrong. If I just see the percentage, I'm not sure where you got the percentage from. So showing the fraction is, and it's often helpful because that's how did you get it? Where did you get it from? Write that down. It's easier to see how you get your answer. You have to round up. I just round it. They if you had 29.5, I'd round it up to 30%, but if it was 29.4, I'd round it down to 29%. And I've rounded all of my answers. I didn't put any decimals on them. I generally round everything. We're out of time. I gotta get ready for the next class. So we'll do today's class on Monday. And I hopefully, this class, okay, hopefully this group that's watching, you're all going to do well on the assignment. I hope so. I'm really not overly concerned about the grade. I'm just hoping that after today's class, now, oh yeah, I sort of understand what's going. That last recording for class 18 just have 1 minute Yeah, it's only 1 minute long. That last class, it's not recorded properly. Oh, I'm gonna have to upload that again and see what the devil happened there. Let me look into it. But hopefully I've still got a recording because I did delete with the last class. There were problems in different ones, um, and I ended up ending some of them early or late or whatever. Let me look into it, and I'll get back to you. But sorry about that. Okay, I gotta go. You take care. Have a good weekend. Don't forget quiz on Saturday, and we'll reconnect again on Monday. And all right, I know.